Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming along. I'm Colin Anaman. I'm the Membership Secretary with the Prostate Action Group. We have Cleon Nelson, our chairman, who is working away from home at the moment. And he's on the Zoom, and he'll start off the meeting with some items. Basically, the agenda for the evening, just that we've got some official stuff to do, and administrative stuff to do, and then we're expecting the speaker from Friends and Bredrins to come along in this first half of this meeting. So after that, we're going to have some refreshments at around 8:30, and give you a chance to talk with each other and talk to us as well. And then in the second part of the evening, we've got a lady called April Spence here, correct? Who's will talk to us a bit about estate planning. And then we're going to talk about some of the priorities for us this year, with a bit of your input as well on that. And then we wrap up the evening. After a bit of a call to the community to think about joining us as an organisation. Okay, so Cleon, if you're on the line, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Appreciate that. I'd like to thank the team, first of all, for getting this all organised. It makes a difference when you're getting support from the team. So you guys have proven to be part of how and why this organisation is growing, and hopefully we'll be making an impact for the benefit of the community. So I thought I'd kind of start off by obviously thanking those people from the community that are here to listen to what we say, and hopefully your participation and comments will help focus us into the direction that's needed, primarily for the benefit of the community. So my thoughts are that the Marcus Garvey Action Group, Marcus Garvey himself, born in on the 17th of August, 1887 in Jamaica, unfortunately passed away on the 1940s whilst in England. He believed and encouraged Black people through unity and commitment to each other to grow, to make the world a better place. One of the things that he was able to do, he was a founder of the Universal Negro Improved Association, which he formed in Jamaica in 1914. He also organized in the US the first nationalist movement. He left Jamaica in 1916. His famous quote was, "If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life." And I think that's something that's quite important for us as a community. One of the things that I find relatively easy to navigate through the challenges I have personally in the community and the wider world, especially in business, is confidence making a difference to how I actually achieve. And the confidence is based on my ability to actually deliver what I'm asked to do. And sometimes we have that old challenge of racism that will come about in our workplace. And just like to sort of like cover an incident that happened to me whilst here in Selby in Yorkshire a couple of weeks ago. I had a site manager who thought it was okay to use racist terms and jokes as a joke. And after being warned 3 times, I was able to ring the company that I work for, and because of the relationship I have with that company, they rang Poundland, who is our main contractor. And Poundland got very agitated about the whole thing because they have a diverse workforce and they didn't think it was right. So they rang the chap's company, Tremlets, and asked them why this guy's doing what he's doing. Anyway, cut a long story short, he had to come to see me to apologise for his comments. I won't bore you with what they were, but they weren't unsavoury or particularly blasphemous, but things that we know that touch a nerve with us, the things that he kind of just covered on. Anyway, he decided, because he had to, that he would apologise for everything that was said. So I said, listen, Barry, the truth of the matter is, my friend, the reason why you're apologising is because potentially your job is now at risk, right? I said, you were warned on 3 occasions what to say and what not to say. You chose to do what you wanted to do. But as a consequence of who I am as an individual, the confidence that I have in myself and what I do and my rights in this country, what you said was now deemed as illegal. So you've got to put it right. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, I've got the choice of making a lot of fuss, contacting a barrister and make a lot of noise and, you know, make the whole thing a political national problem. But I chose not to, because sometimes just being at the table and making people aware that you're happy and confident enough to defend yourself because you know your rights, you can sort of like change a narrative. So, you know, the outcome was it, obviously, he's apologised, and to be fair, I can't get rid of the bloody bloke now. He's always wanted to talk to me, trying to bring me treats and sweets and chatting about his family and what have you, which, yeah, I get that. But I was also pleasantly surprised that the amount of guys, white guys on site, because I'm the only black man here, that came up to me and said, like, Cleo, well done. Well done for defending yourself. Because, you know, this is 2023, not 1973. So I say all of that to say that, you know, as our Marcus Garvey said, if we're confident in who we are as individuals, and we're prepared to sit at the table of making change in society, it can happen. So we need to do that. So going back to us, the Marcus Garvey Action Group, we were formed basically because we had a problem with the Nottingham City Council, for those who weren't aware, of closing our only community centre that was specifically there for our black elders. And they tried to close this because they said that they couldn't afford to keep it open. But at the end of the day, they thought they could close it because they didn't think they'd be challenged. So we were able to challenge them in the way that we did, and it's down to you in the community who got behind this. You know, we were able to overturn it, you know, and, you know, the Marcus Garvey Centre remains open. And from my understanding, last time I spoke to the people in charge, that they're in negotiations with the City Council to maintain and keep that centre open, you know, for the future. So, you know, congratulate again everybody in the community that was able to just get that sorted out. Now, it was always my belief that whilst the Marcus Garvey daycare facility needed to be kept open for the sake of our elders, for a couple of reasons, really. One, a lot of our elders were the ones that came here in the 50s and 60s and 70s for the benefit of this country. You know, they came as a cry out from UK that the motherland needed help after the war. So we've contributed a major contribution to what's happening in the community, in the UK, and especially in Nottingham. You know, we've been part of all the major corporations in the city over the last 50, 60 years. So, you know, for them to sort of like just throw us to one side was never acceptable. But fortunately, we all came together and we overturned their decision. And it started another conversation for myself personally, is that why the community we don't stand together and unite within the community for the benefit of the community. And I know that our community at large have a few challenges with each other, you know, dealing with challenges that we have, because we've all got different directions, I suppose, as to how we're going to benefit the community at large. And as a consequence, sometimes those lines are crossed, blurred, and we fall out with each other. So I think it's important that, you know, the Marcus Garvey Action Group continues to grow under the benefit of the community, but we need the community's involvement. So thank you all for turning up tonight, and we hope that your participation and your suggestion is something that we can carry on. Thank you.
And what we're looking for is more membership from people. We need to be able to do things in our community for our elders. Like, I provide a sitting service, a shopping service, and a companion service. I don't need to get paid for it because I enjoy doing it. So my Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays are all taken up with elders. But we need more people on board to help us to be able to do this, because there's only me. And I'm kind of stretched at the minute. Like today, I went to a funeral, then I went to Mrs. Nelson because Cleon's away from home, and then I did this, and I did that, and I did that, and then I sat down, and I still haven't had no dinner. I didn't even have no breakfast. So we're just looking for more members to come on board to be able to help us progress this Marcus Garvey Action Group, because basically what it is, it's something that we, our generation, need to set up for when we get to our elders' age. So we've got something in our community that we can fall back on. I fill in forms, I've filled in, this past week, I filled in 3 attendance allowance. I filled in 3 passport forms. I filled in forms for somebody to get PIP. Previously, I've done forms for PIP. 3 have been successful, 1 hasn't. We're going to tribunal. People that I filled in forms for attendance allowance, they've got it. I take people to hospital appointments, because I don't believe our elders should be attending hospital appointments on their own, because they don't understand the terminology that the medical people use. I don't, but at least I'm there to say, can you say it in layman's terms so we can understand it? So I'm calling out to the people in this audience today to come on board and join the Marcus Garvey Action Group. And also, what I'd like to know is from the elders is, what do you want from us as an organisation? What would you like? What kind of services would you like us to provide for you in our community? Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Anaman. And we'll touch on some of the subjects a little later on when we get onto the whiteboard and start to
echo as well what Monica said. Obviously, we'd like to get more people, and we have a monthly Zoom meeting, and I think we're trying to find ways and means to get more people to attend the Zoom meeting, because at the moment we may not be getting everybody who possibly attends. So I think we're trying to develop that. Okay, so these are some upcoming events. So what we do, we have this Zoom meeting at the end. It's the last Thursday in each month. So it's the next one is the 31st of August, the 28th of September, the 26th of October, and then on the 25th of November, that's not the Thursday, that's the Saturday. And that's going to be a meeting of this type, which is like open to the public. So the other ones are Zoom meetings. The one on the 25th of November is a in-person meeting, to talk about various things. There is an attempt later on in the year to merge the Marcus Garvey group and the food delivery group. So again, I'm not going to say much about it other than there's been a food delivery group which has been delivering food to the elderly. I think again, Monica's the chief cook and has done a lot of very good work. And the idea is to join the 2 groups together, because they've been operating as separate, so to speak, separate groups. And that merger should take place later this year. There's going to be a hustings for the upcoming elections, and these hustings will be in October 2023, so later this year. There was a hustings that was done earlier this year, and this is generally where people who are involved in political parties, representing political parties, got together, and I think you were instrumental in that again, and also Rosie was involved in the hustings, and I think that's going to be developed again, and that's in October of this year. There's going to be a support for a community visual, and I don't know if there's a date on that. It's awaiting the trial. So if you're not familiar, there was a murder of a family with who basically were burnt to death. The person who did this.
Correction, they
Excuse
weren't
me,
burnt to death.
Sorry.
They weren't
No,
burnt to
no,
death.
go on.
They died from smoke inhalation. They
Oh,
weren't burnt to death.
okay,
They didn't burn.
Okay.
A young chappie, 31 years of age, Jamie Burrows, poured petrol through the letterbox, set it on fire, stood there, watched the fire take hold. When he heard the mother and one of the daughters scream, he turned his back, went back into his flat and closed the door.
And this guy's in Clifton, is it?
Yeah, he's in Clifton. He got 44 years on the 7th of July.
Okay, right.
I attended the whole of the trial.
Okay.
So I
You've got 44
He
years.
got 44
Okay,
years
so-
without parole.
That's a reasonable amount of
Yeah.
time, I think, to put the time there. And is there anything on the visual denoting that?
I don't know anything
Okay.
about it. I'm part of the support group, but we
Right.
haven't mentioned a vigil.
Oh,
We're meeting with the husband of the lady that got killed. They're meeting tomorrow. I can't go because I'm going to the seaside. But they're meeting with the husband tomorrow because he's got to go back to America. Yeah, it's tomorrow they're meeting.
And it was a woman, a young woman, and how many children?
Yeah, 28 years of age, and children were 1 and 3. Fatima, Fatima, and Nahima.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, just a very, very, obviously heinous crime, but this is a type, I mean, any type of murder is bad, but this type of burning of people, again, this is a hallmark of how fascist movements operate. So this is one, because of the terror element to it. And there was again, not necessarily smoke inhalation again, but there was again people who died in the fire. And this was back in New Cross Deptford area, which is very mysterious. The young people having a party. This is going back, I think, 1981. Yeah, young people having a party, and again, at the time, it was very garbled the message that the police gave, but I don't believe anybody's been arrested for it. And there's over a dozen people killed in that way. And this, again, why it was suspicious, it was the same area, general area of London, that Stephen Lawrence had been killed by a gang of thugs, who they kind of did everything they could to not arrest because the community knew about them. So there are signs that, and again, because of the resistance of people, there's signs that these types of fascist groups are being allowed to operate again, and so on, and that they're starting to stir up again against communities. So this is something we need to be watchful about and to be vigilant against and to fight against.
One of the groups that I've been following for a while, and I think are getting quite a bit of a name for themselves. I'm not sure how long they've been going, but they're here tonight to tell us about themselves. It's the Friends and Bredrins Prostate Cancer Group, and I hope you all enjoy hearing a bit more about what they do. And we have Joe here, who's the chairman of the group. Chairman. Yeah, and a couple of colleagues. So please give a round of applause to the.
Nobody wants to support me. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks to Colin for sending the invite to the email address as well. Unfortunately, either I missed the location, the address, or it wasn't sent. I'm not sure. So we actually went to. Yeah. So
There's been a lot of confusion because I got a phone call from the radio station saying, I'm confused. No, you're not confused. Read what is written. It's the Marcus Garvey Action Group and the meeting is at Acton Centre. Why is it at Acton Centre? Because Acton Centre is low-level access for people with disability. That's why it's at Acton Centre. Oh, why isn't it at Marcus Garvey? Because Marcus Garvey, you have to climb the stairs.
Yeah,
Elton cannot climb the stairs.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. No worries anyway. So we're here. Anyway, I have some leaflets there with me. I'm sure that many of you, and I can see in the room, I know almost everyone. You are mostly all familiar with the Friends and Bredrins Prostate Cancer Group, either directly or you've heard of us and the work that we've been doing.
In that case, can I interrupt? We do have a Zoom meeting going on, so there may be big members of the public out there. Maybe you want to slightly address it to them as well.
Yeah. So yes, this is for everyone. Actually we have this is an aside. Coincidentally, we have a connection with Cleon. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
I did some fundraising for you.
exactly. Yeah. So we'll come to that in a bit. Anyway, I'll talk about the group actually more than my own journey, although I can do a little bit of that about, you know, being diagnosed with prostate cancer. The group actually started in 2012. I believe the inception was sometime in 2011, because in 2011, I was aware of who Friends and Bredrins were, even though they hadn't yet been launched. We were officially launched in 2012. Rose Thompson, who we've just lost, was one of the driving forces behind setting this group up. In fact, most of the original founders of the group, along with Rose, agree that without Rose, it probably wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't be here now. So yeah, so in 2012 they formed, and then it's just grown since then. We have, I can't actually put the numbers down, you know, in the numbers down exactly how many members we have, the membership and the ambassadors and all the helpers, other people who support. But we are supported by the GMB, as you can see by my t-shirt. The GMB supports us, and for the last perhaps 6-7 years, we've actually had access to meeting at their headquarters, which is just up the road there. So they've kindly done that for us for the last 7 years or so, 6 or 7 years. Purpose of the group is fairly straightforward. We concentrate on assisting, helping, supporting, and give awareness and whatever information that we possess in the group between all the members and our medical expert, who is Dr. Des Powell, to use that to support the men who have been diagnosed. Also, ones who haven't been diagnosed, by making them aware of the risk that we, especially for us Afro-Caribbean men, we're at heightened risk, double the risk of Caucasian men. And also, in addition to that, men with family history of prostate cancer, and also family history of ladies in their family with breast cancer and other cancers are also at a heightened risk. So that's basically the work that we do. We do the support. We have some fundraising events, which for a couple of years now, we've just started to try and do this fundraising again. But obviously the pandemic, that was problematic in us being able to raise funds, with you not being able to go out and about and put events on or anything. So that set us back a little bit, but we are now back, hopefully progressing again, and you know, hopefully keeping on doing and keeping Rose's legacy going, which is so important. We've still, I'm guessing that, well, I'm not guessing, I know this, that most of the people who do Rose well still really not kind of got over passing. So we're still going through that and realizing that she is going to be well missed, because although Rose was, even when she was diagnosed and she was ill, having treatment, Rose was always there. Any one of us could call her, ask her for advice on a particular treatment or that, you know, diagnosis, new things coming into the NHS, and she would always be there on the, you know, trying to help you, attending meetings when she could to see how we were going on. So basically what Rose did was help to set this group up, made sure that we got the charity status with, you know, all the stuff with the charity commission and everything, and then sort of left the group to the Ben and said, right, now this is your group, and went on to form the ladies' system. It's okay. For myself, I joined the group in 2015, so 8 years now, 8 years plus, 8.5 years. As a result of he being made aware by the group in 2011, I started having my PSA test. That's the blood test. It's not a guarantee or anything, or certainty on anything. When you have the test, the result is not 100%, but it's a guideline. And thereafter, you can pick up, get referred and have further tests just to see if you're, and that was what happened to me. So for 5 years, having been put on what is known as active surveillance from 2013 to 2018, for that 5 years, with the support of these guys and the other members of the group and everybody, I was just, it was just so much 100% better for me, knowing that I had their support. Yes, family, great, but having the support of, like, you know, men who've been through it as well, various different treatments and everything, was 100% better for me. So that is what we try to do. That's the kind of help and support we try to do for our new members, men who have been diagnosed, or ones who want to find out what prostate cancer is about, so that they can know what their risks are and try and prevent it. Trying to prevent it is the key thing, because early diagnosis, as with any other illness or any other cancer, with prostate cancer, early diagnosis being the key. That way you have a chance. If I can just ask Wayne, please, if you just, because you were there with Rose at the start, so would you like to just come and say, just give us a back history about how we started, you know, how the group first started?
Yeah, so the group started kind of, I would say, I mean, I was diagnosed in 2009, and about 6 months after my diagnosis, Rose asked me to speak at the conference. And at the time when she first asked me, I was like, I've never spoken in front of people. I was like, what do I say? And she said, just tell your story. And I told my story, and that was the start, I think, of my journey, because it opened up a lot of doors in regards to people coming forward, getting to know different parts of the community, working with different agencies. And I always sort of have an analogy in sort of like going to a nightclub and the dance floor was empty, no one's dancing. One person goes on that floor, the next minute everybody starts dancing. And that's what it was, I felt, for me. Nobody was talking about prostate cancer. And with the encouragement of Rose starting to talk about it, all these men started to come out of the woodwork. And so, as Joe said, Rose said, we need to start a group. So there was me, Rose, and Lloyd Burrell, which you probably know.
Like
Ferren, sorry. Lloyd Ferren. And Rose said, let's start a group. And we talked about it, and nothing happened, we just talked about it. And one day Rose said, booked a room, come on, let's go. And again, going back to what Joe was saying, Rose was the driving force that got the group going, because she booked the room and she sent out the invite and just got it started. And she nurtured the group until she said, yeah, you guys can do this now. And she stepped back. She was always there, but she stepped back and allowed us to develop the group and take it to where it was. I didn't envisage that it would get to the heights of where it is now. I just looked at it just a support group and that's it. But it turned into a charity. The partnerships in terms of what we've worked with, people we've worked with, the university. We've got a good relationship with the city hospital. So when men are recently diagnosed, they give them our leaflets, they ring us, whether it's black, white, doesn't matter. And we can support them through that initial, when that news first comes, it's a bit overwhelming. And so one of the services that we offer is when people go to see the consultant, we will go with them and support them, because we're like the extra ears and we can ask questions. Because when you're faced with that situation, you think, well, what do I ask? What do I need to know? And because of our collective experience and the knowledge that we've got, we can assist them in those situations. And that's one of the key things that I think that we're really good at, is supporting people in those situations. Again, as Joe said, the pandemic came and things sort of disrupted. In one of our biggest fundraisers was Cycle Live in Nottingham, bike riding. We used to raise quite a lot of funds. Past 3 years that hadn't happened, so it kind of was a knock to our fundraising. But things are getting back on track, and thankfully, 2 weeks ago, Cleon did a fundraiser with the salsa, which was extremely good. You know, big thanks to Cleon for that. I think at the moment it's just ticked over £500. I think that's been raised, which is tremendous.
Yeah, we're heading towards 550.
Thank you.
We're heading to £550. So I've still got a few more donations to come in. I'd like a little bit more, but I'll talk to you guys shortly about doing a presentation check and get a bit of media coverage, and obviously once again through social media and the local news and all that kind of stuff, we'll keep the awareness necessary. I'd just like to thank Roydon, because Roydon has been on my case. Cleon, have you been checked yet? No. Cleon, have you been checked yet? No. Cleon, have you been checked yet? No. Cleon, have you been checked yet? Yes, thank you. So Roydon, appreciate that. And I can happily say that the test was negative. So that's the first stage, but I am going to have the examination done as soon as I get back from site, which will be towards the end of the month. But it was our honour at Crossbody Leeds, because everybody knows I'm a man of salsa, for us to go into our community in the salsa world and have a little bit of dance and raise a bit of money. And it was nice to see Wayne, who's a student of ours, even though he's not able to attend as often. Even Roydon himself, the bugger, was doing a bit of dancing. So it's a win-win situation. So yeah, we look forward to giving back to the community. We as a salsa group, have raised, getting close to £20,000 for different charities over the last 10 or 15 years. So obviously something as close to our community as this, we will continue to fundraise wherever we possibly can. So yeah, it was our honour to help you guys create a bit more funding, and I look forward to working with you throughout 23 and into 24. Thank you.
Thank you, Cleon. Can I just mention something about this? Let us first start it. Last year, sorry. Yeah. Just going to explain that. Last year, I was at a IT refresher course. Cleon was on it, and he said to me about, do I know Roydon? Because I explained that I was there to try and get to improve my IT skills because of the group, because to being chair of the FAB group. And Cleon asked me, do I know Roydon? And then he stopped. And then he said, I want to do something for you. So I told Roydon, and that's it. The rest is history.
Yeah, just
So thank you again, Cleon.
I know Monica has questions. Just quickly, in terms of a message to take away, is encouragement for men to get tested. What we found in the group, that women have been instrumental in encouraging and booking appointments and taking them along. And as a reminder, a lot of men said, oh yeah, I've had my MAT, I've had my MAT. But we say to them, have you asked specifically for the PSA, which is the prostate specific antigen? Because when you do the MOT, they don't include that. There's no national screening program, there's no nothing. And so you have to ask. And so we do say to men, when you go to your doctors and they're talking about testing for cholesterol and blood pressure and everything else, ask for the PSA as well. And prostate specific antigen. Basically, the prostate
leaflet.
develops like a protein, and that's the way of the reading what they call the marker. With age, PSA levels go up, depending on the size of the prostate. So there are different things that can trigger high PSA readings, hence why Joe was saying it's not always accurate, but it is a guide. And if it is high, explore further, then that's what they will do. If anyone's got any questions or anything.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just say, obviously I was encouraged to get my PSA test, and I was quite surprised and annoyed, if I'm being honest, that the doctor that I had on the day when I asked for this PSA wasn't aware that the fact that black men, 1 in 4 black men, are potentially have the situation where they could develop prostate cancer. And he quite categorically stated that, you know, there's no evidence of this. So he wasn't even aware that we do have a challenge as a race of people of prostate cancer. So, you know, this is something that we're going to have to try to overcome, because, you know, if we aren't aware and knowledgeable to a certain degree, it's quite easy for the doctors to not want to do it, because unfortunately it's a cost to them, because as we all know, most of the doctors' practices throughout the UK now are businesses, and these tests cost money, whether the PSA or the physical examination. So it's for our men and our women to challenge the doctors and say, look, we want this. If you don't know, go and study it, and but we want it, and you will get it. So I've had mine, it's negative. I will have the examination, like I said earlier, and yeah, so just be aware of that, guys. Okay, thank you.
You're absolutely right, and we have lots of men come back, say we've been to our GP and the GP sent us away, and we say to come back, and oh, wow. And they change the views about that. You know, it's about arming yourself with information. We're in a high risk group. In a history that increases the go back. Fab has been doing some work with PC UK, Prostate Cancer UK, and there are some guidelines that have come out from that, where they're now saying, encouraging people, I think is it 50?
I think they've got a 45 age.
Yeah, I think for black men,
Yeah,
45,
yeah.
And so even on the PCUK website, and it's linked to some of the NHS stuff about men presenting around 45 to 50. So work's being done. It is slow. Like I said, there's no national screening process. The reason why there isn't one is because it's not an accurate, it doesn't diagnose prostate cancer. It's an indicator. It's when you have the biopsy and things like that, that's diagnosed actual prostate cancer. But it's all that we've got at the moment. One of the symptoms is frequently waking up in the middle of the night, going to the toilets regular, or having difficulty passing urine, called stop-start. So you go, and you've not quite emptied your bladder, and you think you've finished, and then you want to go again. It could be associated with something else, but they are symptoms. Again, in the leaflet, it breaks down about some of the symptoms. And so, although we say 12 months, if some of those symptoms are present, then put yourself forward. Don't wait. It's 12 months. Debate yourself at the GP straight away.
Okay. Yeah. Cleon Nelson, I can't hear.
Right, so I've been dealing with estate planning for the last about 12, specialising in estate planning for the last 12 years. So estate planning is basically the process of anticipating and arranging for the disposal of your estate and what that involves. Now, people think that an estate has to be sort of, you know, you can have lots of assets and whatever, but your estate is just basically what you own. Everything that you own is your estate. So that could be the contents of a shoebox for some people. So managing your estate and putting things in place that will basically protect yourself, protect your assets, and make sure that it goes to where you want it to go to. So my role is basically to help you to protect your wealth during your lifetime and beyond. So the aim is to give you a sense of control so that when you pass away, you know that your wishes will be carried out and that your loved ones will inherit what you've worked hard for. So thorough estate planning then, that is really important to make sure that you actually stay in control, because there are certain things that can happen that means that you may not be in control of what happens in terms of your assets, or even what happens in terms of decisions that you can make. Also, it's important to ensure that you safeguard your loved one's inheritance, and also to make things easier for your family. Also to avoid unnecessary delays. So I'll go into some of those a bit more. Also to protect what assets that you have and to avoid burdening others financially. So does that put your hand up if you've got a will?
I've got one. And you created it. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Right, so okay, so also in terms of protecting what you have and avoiding burdening others financially, who has a funeral plan? Right, okay. But yeah, that is really important. Okay, yeah, that's really important as well, because you know, we've seen especially at the moment, you know, there's a lot of people sort of passing, so it is important that those things are thought of and ideally dealt with, so that if you know, something was to happen suddenly, or then you know, people aren't scrambling around trying to sort things out. Also, to help to avoid burdening others administratively as well. So, for example, if somebody has a will, and what's a common thing, well, not speaking now, but what a lot of people do is that they have, say, for example, their children or so forth as their executors. Does everybody know what an executor is? Anybody not know what an executor is? An executor is basically somebody in a will, the person who deals with everything within the will, that administers the estate and makes sure that everything is dealt with on a legal, financial basis and so forth. But if what can happen sometimes, obviously, if somebody is, you know, you lose somebody close to you, and you know, that person may be quite capable, but you know, at the time that they you know, actually lose somebody, well then they you know, their head is obviously, you know, elsewhere, and so it is something that is quite in terms of you know, administratively it can be quite burdensome. And so if an executor gets anything wrong, they can also be personally liable for up to 20 years. So it's also, you know, important to think about sort of, you know, having a professional executor, because, you know, it is something that can, you know, burden people, and it's something that often is a lot more, there's a lot more involved than people are aware.
Can I ask a question, or do you?
Yeah, if you might want to sort of wait a bit, let you ask again.
No, I was just going to ask. I mean, you mentioned an executive, so are you talking about profession? You can get a professional organisation to do that, who does executive, and you know, what type of cost are you talking about? Oh,
well, they tend to vary quite widely. So, like for example, Barclays charge 19%.
Is there any way of avoiding having banks involved?
Having banks in, well, as I say, there's that sort of Barclays. A lot of solicitors charge up to 10%, say between 2 and 10%. The Law Society says that 2.22% is good value. Yeah, so those are some ideas of the cost of executorship. But the thing is, in terms of, say, if we were to act as executors, well, then the aim is also to help to save the estate money as well. So, you know, although there may be a cost to it, well, then overall, the estate should be better off, because there may be certain allowances, for example, that you know, a lay executor may not be aware of, so they'll end up, you know, have been able to save people quite a lot in terms of taxes and things like that on their estate. Thank you for your question. And so ultimately, to give you peace of mind. So this thing isn't.
Is that not working? Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Oh, that's my fault.
Let me just try this one. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so beneficiaries then.
Sorry.
So within a will, the beneficiaries are the people that you want to leave your estate to, and so you know, you need to think about who you want to inherit your estate, and how much do you actually worry about those individuals who you want to inherit. So because there are some people who hesitate to make a will because you know, they have beneficiaries, say children, for example, who they know they aren't very good with money, and they don't want to actually, you know, give them the money, because they know that, you know, yeah, they'll either squander it, or, you know, they may have some sort of you know, addiction or something like that. And obviously, sort of giving somebody an addiction, you know, who's got an addiction, you know, money, I mean, a large sum of money, you know, that may not work out very well, and it could actually turn out to be fatal. But there are actually things that can be done. So in terms of the estate planning, that is something that can be taken care of within you know, the estate planning. So this is why it's a good idea to plan ahead.
So what can you do? If you're not picking it up, basically, we're spending money on that. You're going to pay it back to basically organise it so they can spend it.
Well, it's a sort of you know, a bank is one of these.
You said the trust, for example.
Yes, yeah, and within trusts, well, then that's something that where you can, it can give you a lot of control, so that you know, you can sort of take account of things like that, whereby you know, if you've got a beneficiary that you're concerned about, in terms of either how they're going to spend the money, or you know, whether or not it's going to sort of you know, could turn out to harm them in some way. A trust is an ideal way to make sure that that is dealt with.
Can I just say, my mum left me some money when she died with stipulations. I'm not allowed to have the money in a lump sum. I'm not allowed to have the money to do anything else apart from go on a holiday. So every time I go on a holiday, I have to buy the ticket, take it to the solicitor, and it reimburses me until the money's finished. Because she knows that I would have given it away. So that's why she left me a stipulation. Yeah. That's what she did.
Yeah, so you can, so it's like sort of still having that control beyond the grave, isn't it?
She knows what I'm like. She should say, I don't know why you don't give away yourself.
Yeah. Anyway, right then, so there are also complications as well that you know, you may not be aware of. So for example, with a trust, that enables you to take account of things that you don't know may happen in the future, you see. So because there can be a lot of flexibility within that as well. Okay, so areas of vulnerability. Say for example, people who are unmarried, are we, is anybody aware or everybody aware of the term common law husband and wife? Have you heard of that? Yeah, well, that holds no weight in law at all. So if you have a couple who are married, who are not married, who are cohabited, living together, you know, it doesn't matter how long they've lived together, if they don't have a will, they can basically end up not getting anything. Because you know, because some people, common law husband and wife, that is something that you know, it's basically a term that was sort of made up at some point, and people sort of believe that it holds weight, but it doesn't. And so unfortunately, you have these situations whereby you have you know, people, they may even have children, they may have a house or whatever together. Usually, if they've got a house, they've usually got that joint, so that's usually okay, because it will you know, pass through the other on death. But apart from that, you know, if they don't make a will and the other partner, a lot of the time, you know, they actually end up not getting anything. And you know, sort of if the in-law, so-called in-laws, are quite hostile as well, they can, you know, really have no sort of say at all, even though they've you know, been with this person for many years. So it's really important that if you're unmarried, well, then you make a will if you want the other party to benefit. Also, children from previous relationships. We've got a lot of blended families at the moment. So you know, second marriages and oh, that's smart. No, blended marriages, and you know, you have children from first marriages or other relationships and so forth. And so if they're not specifically taken care of or provided for in a will, a lot of the time they can be disinherited, especially if the person marries or remarries. Okay, so say for example, if you have somebody who is married, they made a will, and then one of them dies, the other one gets remarried. When somebody gets married, well then the will that you know, the existing will is basically then becomes void. And so if they don't then make a new will, or then the children can end up being disinherited, and everything will go to the, well, depending upon the size of the estate, you know, everything or most of their estate can end up going to the new spouse. So that is another reason why it's really important to not only make a will, but also keep up with you know, the wills as well, because some people have a will, but they've made it in sort of 19 dot and you know, haven't you know, haven't reviewed it, haven't had it reviewed, and since then a lot of their circumstances have changed. So it's important to have you know, regular reviews so that that is up to date.
Can I jump in? Is remarriage the only way that the old will gets voided, or is there a passage of time?
Oh, if a will is in place, well then, yeah, that, if it's valid, it can last forever and well, until the person dies, unless there's something like
So remarriage is the key.
yes, yeah. Okay. Also, as I said, sort of beneficiaries who aren't good with money. Also, loss of health, well-being, and mental capacity. Is anybody aware of what issues can arise if someone?
Yeah, you can't make decisions about your health, you can't make decisions about your finance, and the state can do it for you, basically.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people can end up losing control, or the families can end up losing control if somebody loses capacity, because say for example, if somebody has, say you've got a couple living together, and even if they're married, so one loses capacity, and what can happen is their everything with their name on it can actually be frozen, so their accounts, their assets and everything. And so if they don't have certain documents in place, well then it's a case of somebody having to go to the Court of Protection to get a deputyship order to actually be able to deal with their affairs. Now the problem with that is the length of time that it actually takes, because it can take a well, since COVID it's about a year, it can take about a year to get the deputyship order. And then if you imagine that you've got situations whereby you know, you've got assets frozen, and you know, nobody can actually deal with your affairs, and then you know, you can't actually you know, nobody can actually do anything until this order is in place. So it's really important that
But if that happens, you're normally sick.
sorry.
That happens, you're normally sick when you're in hospital.
Well, the thing is that you can have all sorts of situations, you see, so people can lose capacity suddenly, so like an accident, a stroke, even adverse reaction to medication. So yeah, so all sorts of things can happen. I mean, if we knew what was going to happen from one day to the next, you know, we'd all be, you know.
Is that where power of attorney is?
That's right. Yeah. So power of attorney. That's yeah, so crucial. Some people think it's more important than a will, because you know, the effects. Because the effect of I mean, the will comes into force on death, but with the powers of attorney, if you don't have that in place and you lose capacity, well then, you know, as I say, it can be really devastating for people, you know, people who are trying to deal with things or not being able to access things and so forth. In fact, are you aware, in fact, I think it's coming up, but there was also, was it Kate Garraway? Remember Kate Garraway? Yeah. So during COVID, he had her husband had, I think he was in a coma for a while before COVID, yeah. And so she wasn't, you know, she wasn't able to deal with access, you know, certain monies and so forth. And you could actually see on her that, you know, the toll that it was taking on her. And there is another one as well that yeah, I think, yeah, here we go. Right, so who watches Coronation Street? Okay, sure, the rest of your Right, okay. Well, there was a character in there that played, this was some years ago, an actress that played a character called Saskia Larson. Does anybody remember her? I think she's some sort of wedding planner. Okay, well, in real life, her grandmother was in a care home, and her mother, who is a registered nurse, they weren't happy with the level of care that she was getting in the care home, and you know, they hadn't seen her for a long time, and you know, you had COVID and everything, and so they actually took her out of the care home, and she got arrested, even though she's a registered nurse. She got arrested, taking her mum out of the care home. And the reason why she got arrested is because her mother didn't have the health power of attorney in place, because there are two different types. Or then she didn't have any right to say whether or not she went into a care home, which care home, and she didn't have any right to take her out either. So there can be real consequences for not having, you know, these documents in place. So, you know, it is so important that a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people are just blissfully unaware until something actually happens. And then it's when something happens and it's too late to do something about it, you know, that's usually when people are aware. So, right. Okay, so the sort of things that we do are things like wills, trusts, powers of attorney, will trust, and so forth. And in terms of owning a property, so normally when a couple owns a property, especially if they're married, it's normally owned jointly. But say what happens is, who thinks that it's sort of, when you own a property jointly, who thinks that you sort of own 50-50 each?
No, you do, I thought.
Yeah. Well, that's a reasonable, you know, it's logical to think, or you think it'd be logical to think that, you know, if you own a property jointly, well, then you own 50-50 each. But it's actually 100%. Okay, so if something happens to one party, the whole of that property passes to the other person. Now that may be a good idea, that may be a good thing in certain circumstances. Let's say, for example, if that person who is still alive, if they have health challenges and you know, they end up, for example, going into care or whatever, well then, you know, you can have instead of your the property that you wanted to go to your children, that can then, you know, end up you know, not getting to them, basically. So there's a number of things that can happen, and so it is really important to have you know, to have in advance some estate planning, and not to wait until it actually happens. Not to wait till something happens.
What about tenants in common?
Yeah, so basically, what one of should I say an estate planning strategy, I suppose, is by so splitting the house, instead of it being 50-50, sorry, instead of it being a joint, is splitting it, and it's called tenants in common, and that's basically where people, you define the shares. So it may be 50, it's usually 50-50. Sometimes some people put more into the house at the beginning, so you know, it may be a different percentage, but usually 50-50. And that way there is more control in terms of that person can actually say what happens to their half of the will.
Are we talking about a marital home?
Well, a residential home, yeah.
So when you're talking about the first model, as in the other 100%, was that applied? Did that apply to the marital home?
Sorry, is there a
Yeah.
marker?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So well, let's just call it a residential home. So whether or not it's somebody who's you know, whether they're married or whether they're you know, just living together or whatever. So you'll have to excuse my drawing, but it's confusing. So that's that's the reason that's should I put some dots on it as well? Right. Okay, so when they own the house jointly, well then they equally own 100% of the property. Okay, so 100% of the property is owned by them both. So they don't own particular shares in the property, which most people think it's that way. But so what happens is if it's owned this way, it doesn't actually pass under a will. So it just passes directly to the other person, the other joint owner. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. But then what you can do, and I don't have time to go into everything, but I'll just sort of explain in terms of that it's a strategy that can help you with your estate planning. Is that if, as Monica said, you can basically it's called tenants in common, but it's defining the shares that you have in the house. So instead of it being 100%, then you can define, you've got 50% each. And most people think that they own the house that way anyway. When they own it jointly, they think it's 50%, don't they? And so that way, each person can individually leave say what happens to their share under a will, you see. But if it's joint, 100%, or then it doesn't pass under a will, it automatically passes to the other person. And as I say, sometimes that can be a good thing, but there are certain situations that may not be, a good thing for it to pass automatically to the other person.
Well, when you're looking at bloodline planning, you're talking about outlaws from hell. Well, that's
yeah. And then there's other things that I could talk about in terms of plus, I don't want to complicate things, but yeah. Any questions on that?
The contractual arrangement in which you own the property 100% is normally a marriage.
Well, basically, it's basically how the property is owned.
Yeah.
But if it's owned jointly, so then it can be anybody.
So if it's a common law situation, what is that then? Is that 100%, or is it basically 50-50?
Okay, so it can be whether or not you're married or cohabiting. If you buy a house with somebody, so say you could decide to buy a house and then have it jointly. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't. The relationship has got. That's not the deciding factor. It's how it's actually owned. Normally, they should. If say for example, if you've got siblings that go and buy a house together, well then you should have. Hopefully the solicitor would recommend that it's tenants in common rather than jointly. But yeah,
So
anybody
business partnership then would it be shown as common?
Well, that would be a good recommendation, but it could still be joint.
I would say for the clients that I advise, it's always tenants in common.
Yeah, but it could be jointly because basically jointly is in terms of that's how you've decided to buy the house. In fact, a lot of the time they don't really even tell people. So a lot of people don't even realise how they actually own the house.
And it protects your half.
Can you just explain the benefit of having it 50-50? I think maybe if you explain
It protects your half of the house.
Yeah. So basically, say for example, if we think about a situation whereby you've got say you've got one party is they're married. One of them's died. So you've split it, and then on first death, their half then goes into a trust, let's say, and so now that their half is actually saved for their children. Okay, because if say for example, if it was jointly held, well then if it passed to the other party and they ended up getting remarried, or then that house could end up then going down somebody else's bloodline. But if you've got it, if you've defined your shares, so tenants in common, well then the half of the house can go into trust, and so that's safe for your children and who you want that to go to.
Was it also if one of us end up in a nursing home, then you're assessed and you're 50% and not the whole of it?
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe. I understood it better when it was explained to me like that.
Yeah. So that is another situation that it can be
But they should be taking your houses now to put you in nursery home.
Well, I don't know if there's any sort of plans for the council to change that, but yeah, at the moment.
Council's government, not.
It's well, local authority, should I say, because it's they actually but yeah, so that's the difference between how a house is owned jointly and or tenants in common. So it's anyway, it's basically a good idea to sort of you know, have things checked out. Talking about checking things out in terms of your prostate, but you know, checking things out in terms of your estate planning as well.
Doesn't that also apply to joint or property? So if you've got a bank account in joint names or something, then you pass, the money's gone to.
It's held jointly.
What really woke me up in this whole thing is, yes, you get sick and you go to hospital, but most of the time, the plan then, if it's a person over the age, the plan then made by the hospital is to put you into a care home. Well, you are confronted then with the demand that you pay for your care. Or you go home and you have 4 calls a day from a care company, you pay for your care. So the next demand that the society makes of you is, okay, now you need to sell your house to pay for your care. And this is often the reason why people go into a care home who don't want to go into care. Because they can't pay for 4 calls a day from an agency. So therefore, they have to go into a care home so that their house can be sold to pay for their care. Now we're in a situation where old age can be like half your lifetime. And even though your house is sold with your care, now you used all that money too.
Yeah.
So these are very sensitive.
It's a very big subject.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, I think my okay, so yeah, if you've got any questions, just
Yeah, do you have perhaps you want to share?
yes, I'll right. Yeah, so basically, yeah, we do free consultations, so you know, we can have a look at your estate planning for you.
And who's we? To give you a bit of background, or if you don't know, hopefully you all should know. The reason why the organisation got established in the first place is because we were trying to stop the closure of the Marcus Garvey Day Centre, and obviously, you know, that we protested against that, and eventually the council decided that it was going to keep it open, keep it open. At the time, and since then, we discovered quite a few issues with the daycare centre in terms of how many people actually attend it, and rules and regulations of how to get an elderly person to get into the centre. There were other things that were going on, like I think the kitchen had broken down, so they couldn't actually cook for the residents and people, the service users. We've been in contact with the management committee that runs the daycare centre, and they feel that at the moment they've got a good relationship with the council, and that all the issues that have been highlighted will be resolved. So as a group, we've stepped back away from doing anything for the daycare centre, because obviously they've got their own management committee running it, and they're the ones who have the relationship with the council. So from those early days of when we started and thinking about what we wanted to do in terms of supporting the daycare centre, that was just one issue that we wanted to take on. But we came to learn that there were other issues for the elderly population in Nottingham, and you know, there's other things that can be done, that need to be done, still outstanding for our community. We've had a lot of ideas amongst us ourselves as a committee, to see how we can actually support elderly people better in the community. But we also want to hear from the community themselves, because if the community is not interested enough to put forward ideas or even come to us with a notion of what needs to be done within the community for elderly people, then there's no point us existing. Okay, so we'd like to hear people got any ideas as to what is outstanding for our community, or in terms of looking after the elderly and ensure that they have a better quality of life. Is this something that you think about? It is.
Ask a question. Is the Marcus Garvey Luncheon Club still going?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's
It's the
still operating.
Day Centre.
The day centre, yes. Is it still operating?
still operating. Yes. Okay, so when we were actively supporting the centre, we had some of the ideas we had, or one of the two ideas we had, was we wanted to help fund some of the activities for the people there. But we had reports of people going to the day centre and there wasn't much going on. So that's the type of thing that we wanted to bring in. But we gather that throughout the community as a whole, there's very limited opportunities for elderly people to get some kind of activity. We've got a couple of things going on now. Monica runs a group on a Wednesday. I think there's something going on at the old brickyard as well.
I've got that one as well.
Yeah.
Well, that one as
Oh,
well.
you're on that as well?
Yeah.
But again, probably it's one person organising these things, or one person just using our authority to do those things. We need we have the ideas, we need the resource in terms of people who are able to put these things into motion and make sure that we end up with our elderly is being looked after properly throughout the community. So one of the things that we did want to do for the day centre to ensure that more people will use the day centre is to arrange a bus service. We did that type of thing we could do, but we still want to do the bus service, but we want to do it for all these different, make that bus available for all these different venues where elderly people need to get to be able to participate in these activities. So these things cost money. So
yeah, got one or two things to say.
okay.
On the bus service, my dad uses the bus service that I think is provided by
Easily.
not council.
Oh, that one,
Yeah.
easily. No, it's City Council.
This one, the county council.
Oh, is it County Council?
I believe it's.
Or is it my chair?
54M.
Yeah.
64M.
Simple.
My dad and my mum, before she passed away a year ago, used to go to Brickyard and St Jude's Church Hall on a Tuesday. And they went to Mark Scott twice as well. And they used to go by taxi, which was costing extra £100, but the CT4N service is about £2 or £4 each way, depending where you go. Hell of a saving, really massive saving.
So that exists now.
Yeah. So that's it's something that I think probably but black people don't know about.
They do. Well,
we're going to get to find out about these things by being in certain networks, and we found out about it from a white person, and white people more likely to associate with white people, black people more associated with black people. So I think a lot of people don't know about it.
well, the elders I work with in the community, I've signed them all up for that system. There's about 26 of them that I work with on a personal basis. and they all use it, like Mrs. Nelson tomorrow, she's going into Nottingham,
Yeah.
and she's already, you have to book in advance. You can't book on the day, so you have to plan your trips.
So, my dad stopped going to Moxley because you have to pay £34 each time. It's a weekly thing, and the invoicing him for £34 each week. Sometimes there's just 2 or 3 people there and not much activity, and that's understandable, you know, because there's not many people there. But it goes to St Jude's Church Hall. There's a lot more people there, a lot more activities, and it costs. I must say, £50
£50 a year, £5.
£50 a year membership. Good £5 if you want the minimum and it gets done.
That includes exercise.
Yeah.
Can I just comment on that?
Well, if you don't mind quickly on that, I've got a few things that I'd like to say that.
Yeah, please do, my friend. Please do.
Thanks. Yes, so there's that, and you know, I don't really know much about Moxley actually. I've tried to find out, but from the limited amount that are doing that, you're doing a fantastic job. I really feel sorry for you because most people, I'm afraid, are like me and expect everybody else to do all the work, and people like me just to sit back and take advantage of opportunities that might be there.
Yeah, it's free.
You know, there's not much opportunity for me personally. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity to look for my dad and all the elders in my family. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And you do deserve support and help from younger people, and you just not getting that at the moment. So I think that it needs to be, you know, I'm expecting you to do it again, a bigger effort to get young people on board, and that can be by talking to people, it can be by attending meetings where you know younger people are going to be, having stalls at I don't know, and posters at dances and having stalls. Friends and Bredrins, great idea. Having a stall at the carnival next month. You know, the students should be promoting the group there, and it costs money. We're sort of all going to a very, very worthy cause. And regarding the membership, but my dad has said that he's going to be covered member, but that's not going to take on any loss. He was the very proud treasurer of Mandeville Return Residents Association, which he and some return residents formed, but back in 1990 something. They built a multi-million-dollar community centre in Mandeville to those with the Princeton. Not like that. So there's that, and regarding finance as well. You know, it's already been said that the Caribbean community in Nottingham have done wonders for the Nottingham economy, but also for the community and culture as well. And this a brilliant source of money that we don't always tap into. I see that you brother, you're wearing a T-shirt and you say that it's sponsored by the GMB. The trade unions have got money there. Trade unions have got money. And I'm a member of Stand Up to Racism in Nottingham. And when we want money, we go to the trade unions. We go to the trade unions. It's important that we have a strong relationship with the trade unions. I think that if Moxley Action Group went to a union meeting or a meeting of the Trades Council, or sent a letter to the Trades Council to tell them what you were trying to achieve, you would get some money from them. Similarly, if you came to the meeting of Stand Up to Racism and told us what you're trying to achieve, Stand Up to Racism hasn't got much money. It would make a small donation, but we've got very, very strong links with the trade unions in Nottingham. And so we would, I'm sure, we'll be able to get some money for you, and you know, to do all the things. But I've done voluntary myself, both as a trade union rep and other things as well. And I know that often you end up being out of pocket, and that's not right. That's not right, you shouldn't be out of pocket. So, you know, if funding is available from trade unions or anybody else, then I encourage you to do it. And it's easy to come to a standard rate of the meeting, which we have every month, or go to a trade council meeting, or even to a GMB meeting. Something like you need.
Can I comment on that?
Sorry, Cleon.
Can I comment on that, Olga?
I was going to say those are great ideas, and those are the type of things in terms of funding that we would approach. You know, so we are going to be having a wider program to get more funding. But the most important thing is getting community involvement. Okay, that's a major part of what we want to do. Need to do, because there's no point that's being a group of 20 people. We just try to make it better, and really needs the whole community get involved and see it for what it's worth. If it's not, you know, otherwise there's no point. But we take on your comments about the funding, definitely. Yeah. Sorry, Cleon.
No, that's fine, Colin. I think you kind of getting across personally where I come from, not irrespective, but as a part of a small organisation that wants to see the community at large do more for itself. One of the things that we've benefited from this year, which I alluded to earlier, was you know, we have Audra, who now has positions of prominence in the city council. And she's done a lot of work to achieve that. And what we're not doing is we're not communicating with our councillors. And if I'm being honest, I'm not the greatest one for communicating with our councillors in the past. And as a consequence, they get into positions of authority and potential power, but yet they're not supported. We are our own biggest problem. And if we don't want to accept that, then this thing isn't going to get any better. The Marcus Garvey Action Group is a self-empowerment organisation. I've got an amazing group of volunteers that give up their time, energy to strategise and try and develop something for the benefit of the community at their cost. Okay, so the reason why this meeting was proposed was to start the conversations, not fix anything, but start the conversations where, one, we can get more people within the group that will add value to what we do, right, okay, and what our intentions are, and enhance them with their own ideas, okay? You know, I've been a part of this thing from the start, and, you know, I've been fortunate enough to have Earl, Rosie, Colin, and Monica support me. I mean, I'm in Selby in York, yeah, but yeah, I'm able to, because of the team, able to be a part of this Zoom meeting. You know, I've invited others that come online just to even listen to what we're doing. And I take everything on board that you say in relation to getting money from organisations. And it's those sort of things are great. But please, 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 let us have your ideas and your details so you can help us as an organisation to achieve the end goal for the benefit of the community. Yeah, you know, the Marcus Garvey daycare facility, just one issue that needs to be ensured is kept alive, because I don't know about you lot, but I'm 64 next time, and it won't be too long before I'll need the bloody place for myself. So it'd be great for me to ensure that, you know, we're ensuring that it's still around for us to enjoy when we get to the age where it is. But it's going to take us as a community to unite as a community and talk to each other in forums like this with ideas that you've shared with us to enable us to get where we need to get in the medium term and long term. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody coming on board and listening, and hopefully the next meeting that we have, there'll be more people in the community that will look at the group as not the fix all, but maybe a platform that we can be, as a community, using what we've started as something that will propel us into something better. But unless we're united as a group of individuals, within our own community, we're not going to grow, guys. We've got people in our community that are at the table of decision making. We've got to learn and understand to support them in that. And I can happily hold my hand up and let you know that I weren't too crazy about our councillors, because I had all my ideas of what they should and shouldn't be doing. But, you know, since I've started talking to them, I understand that their job ain't easy. And for those of you in the community that know that I went through my own sort of political metamorphosis not so long ago, you know, within Gedling Borough, which is a completely different borough to the city. So I'm better known in the Nottingham City area than I am actually in Gedling Borough. But I've decided, with the encouragement from people within our community in the city, to be involved politically in the borough. And as a consequence, it's starting to make a difference. But guys, it's not going to happen overnight. You know, for everybody that's within this meeting today, I'm hoping, praying that you will all say, you know what, let's have a go at making this thing work and make at least a 12-month commitment to it. Becoming members of the organisation, sharing your ideas. We're not the one-stop fix shop. If we had all the answers, Doc, we'd be in Barbados drinking pina coladas. We don't have all the answers. So we're asking and spending our time and energy and our own money in ensuring that you guys get to understand and feel what we're actually trying to do. Yeah, we're collaborating. Yes, okay. Now, as a part of the food program that we started during the pandemic, now this group and that group may or may not come together as an organisation and work with each other either way for the benefit of our elders. And that's primarily where we are, of our elders. But there's elders throughout the community of different ethnicities that will also potentially need our help. And I think if we focus on what we do as from our community, but also reach out to others, there's an ever growing opportunity for us to be more of an impact on what happens in the community. So please, guys, share as much as you can. Criticize if necessary. I don't mind a bit of flack. I've had quite a bit of flack over the years. I can cope with that. But if the whole idea is for the betterment of our community, I'm listening. If you want us to fix it all without sharing your ideas and ideologies, then we're not going to get anywhere, guys, okay? So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Cleon. And just to follow on from that, the membership of our group requires you to subscribe £5 a month, but also to give us 5 hours of your time a month. Those 5 hours can be used in different ways. You might not even be called on to do anything in a particular month. But if we have an event coming up, you know, we need to reach out be able to reach out to a pool of people who can perhaps take on a certain function. It might be designing a poster, it might be involved in doing social media for us, or you know. So we do need these your help, and it's almost, you know, very small things, little things that can make us really achieve a lot in the community. Okay, so, and like I say, we have our regular meetings, so you can be kept up to date with what's going on. And if you're a member, you get, you know, you get the invitation to the committee meetings every month and understand what's on. And we do a newsletter. How often do we do the newsletter?
Once every 2 or 3 months.
Once every 2 or 3 months, so you know what's going on if you're not a member. So, you know, before you leave tonight, if you give me an indication that you want to be a member or that you can be a member, well, just come up and see me. We're going to have to wrap it up then now. Actually, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, can I just say a couple of things before you,
Sure.
before you wrap up? Because Cleon did text me to say I committed to this meeting, even though I just come home from what I was doing. But I think it's just to speak to what Cleon said about community coming together. I think you know, even in the space of day, you know, we talked about the work that you guys are doing in terms of the, you know, really helping Black men in particular to raise the awareness, to go and get checked, but also, to my mind, saving lives, because ultimately that's what it's about. And I think, you know, in my short time I've been deputy leader, I've been to a number of different events, and in the last weekend I actually went to the majority black churches, well, actually, I gate crashed it, the majority black churches, because I'm actually finding my way around that church's event. And, you know, one of the things I said that the church, black churches in the city, there are, I'm having to map this out, I don't know how many they are, but if you think about the volunteers they have, the membership that they have, to my knowledge, the capital that they have, and I think that the church has a significant role to play in the development of the community in Nottingham. And then when we think about the business community, we think about the volunteer community. If as a community we could all come together, that would be so powerful, and the difference that we can actually make. And when we're thinking about services for the elder, my mum's 83, still, you know, up there, but she's not as mobile. But we're actually living longer. We're actually going to be living longer with more serious illnesses than we've ever had before. Other than thinking about having some AI in our houses doing little bits for us. But that said, it's about thinking about what are some of the solutions that we're going to need for the future. Because we talk about daycare. I'm trying to get my mum to come to daycare. She won't. But it's about, well, what else can we do? For me, I'm thinking about, if I get old, do I want to be going in a home, or do there need to be other kind of solutions to support our culture and our community? You know, and I was thinking about, well, maybe my mum might want to house share with people of similar range. So I think, you know, when you talk about that, and I think that I'll put churches on there because they've got deep pockets. The city council hasn't got any money, but what we have is councillors that want to help, councillors that want to enable, councillors that want to facilitate, councillors that can leverage. So what I do, I do believe Cleon is about how we actually fundamentally all work together, because we all want the same output. We might, our lanes may be different, but all heading in the same direction.
I think it's really important to meet about this, so everyone's aware of what different people, what different organisations are doing in our city, and how we can ultimately help each other.
And then we had the event there on Saturday night, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And I think it's a conversation that started, and we need to continue to shape and actually continue to keep people around the table. And I think 2024 will be an amazing year.
You know, you just said that your mum would probably like to live with somebody. I've got a business plan, and I've had this business plan for a while. I did it when my mum was alive, because my mum didn't want to go into care, but I struggled and looked after my mum for 15 years. It nearly broke me, it nearly sent me to the madhouse. And I wouldn't do it again. I have my uncle who's 89 living with me, but I don't look after him. I've brought the care in now. But my business plan is for an assisted living home for Black people. And we need it. We need to, if we're putting our people in homes, we need to be putting them in a Black cultural specific place for them, where they can get their skin washed, their skin cream, them hair combs, their food. That's very important. So this is what we need. This is what this organisation is all about. You know.
And Cleo, when you're back in Nottingham, we need to meet up. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Before you all go, one of the things that I advocated on Kevin's show on more than one occasion was for the community to donate £1 a week. Based on what Monica suggested, you know, I've looked at and done a feasibility study on the possibility of having a Black-owned, Black-run nursing home. It can work. So here's the deal, guys. Spread the word. Share the opportunity, like we do with so many business opportunities. This is a business opportunity that potentially we could own our own nursing home for our elders and ourselves when we get there. £1 a week, start the process, guys. Think about it. Let us know.
Black bank where the money goes into.
Right.
The Black pound used to run around.
It does.
Right, we have a Black councillor who has an accountancy business. How many people support her? How many possibly would support her? You know, we have Black businesses that are not constantly supported for the wrong reasons. Guys, look at where we are. Let's look in the mirror and make a difference about how we deal with what we deal with. Please, it's important. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone on the Zoom.
Let's play to feel that.